We have a third individual in the studio with us, and I'm very excited to have her here. If you haven't been on our social media handles yet, which is at SpiceFM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you haven't seen the poster yet, I want you to do me a favor, log on and find out what it is that we're talking about for today's hot topic. But I'm going to continue and I'm going to let you know what it is that we are talking about. So our special guest in the building is Judy MZUNGU. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I hear that you are a life coach. You do a whole lot of amazing things.
Thank you.
And you're here to talk to us about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions.
Yeah.
So welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Asante, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the honor and the privilege.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, as I understand, you have you've been here before.
Yes, I have.
Right?
Yeah.
How was your experience last time? I hope you enjoyed it. And then
Yes, I did, but it was online. It was the time of the COVID, but it was almost the same time. It was at the beginning of the year.
Right,
Yes,
right,
it was
right.
online.
So I feel like this is the right time for us to be having you here in the studio, given what you do. And I know a little bit about what you do because I've done my research. But I would like for you to firstly please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about who you are.
Okay, my name is Judy MZUNGU, just like you said. I am a Kingdom Life Coach, meaning that I do my coaching on the basis of the Word of God, which is the Bible.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we lock anyone out.
Right. I see.
Yes, so I run a program called the Realignment Program, which is essentially about helping us to find out our true identity and walk into our purpose.
I see.
Yes.
I see. So I guess to kick off the conversation, for those that don't know what a life coach is, can you kind of give us a bit of a synopsis as to what's involved in the role of a life coach?
What's involved in the role? I think most of us are called, honestly, very differently. It depends on your line. Personally, for me, I have specialized in helping people to walk through their healing journey.
Right.
Because most of us carry wounds from the past that become a hindrance to us being able to, one, identify who we truly are, find out our true identity, and then after that, be able to find your purpose, and then based on that, be able to draw your vision and your goals.
I see. I see. And I think this is something that I've noticed a lot of people don't know that they actually need, because I think a lot of the time we operate on autopilot. We go through life, we have our experiences, we wake up, we take our kids to school, we go to work, and we rarely actually think about the importance of finding your purpose, you know.
That's true.
So I guess from the experiences that you've had with the various clients that you've worked with, what do you find is usually the biggest struggle for most people that either reach out to you for your services? What do you find people tend to struggle with a lot? And I know that's a very big existential question, but if you were to sort of narrow it down, what would you say some of those key things are that people find themselves struggling with?
I think the main thing is finding their identity.
I see. Okay.
Finding their identity. See, what happens for the most part of our lives, we go through challenges. You go through your childhood, you're told things. Yeah. And by the way, when people talk about wounds, you know, you imagine huge traumas. It's a small thing as when you were playing and maybe you were rejected in a game, it registered in your mind and registered as rejection.
Right, I see.
And people carry that through. So you carry it through your childhood, you carry it through your teenagehood, sometimes you carry it through your adulthood. Yeah. Okay, then of course there's rejection that happens sometimes, of course, in relationships.
Right, yes. That's true. And that's a conversation we've had a lot.
Yeah. You get.
Yeah.
So without knowing, it affects your sense of identity. You are unable to separate the fact that this person left. It doesn't mean that you are not all that.
I see. Yeah.
So before you even recover from that, probably your workplace performance begins to take a hit.
I see.
Because it
consumes you. Then maybe you lose a job. You're unable to separate and realize the season was over.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that you as Arnold cannot perform for the rest of your life.
I see. Why is it that you think we take such either rejections or failures so personally? Because I can imagine if someone was to lose their job, they would naturally feel a sense of disappointment and shame.
Yes.
Why is it that we take that idea of loss or rejection so personally?
Yeah, and it's
I think we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about the hardships. We don't talk about the difficult seasons of life enough.
Right.
Go to social media. what's there?
Yeah.
People are just talking about the beautiful moments.
Yeah.
That when you lose a job, when you lose a relationship, you actually don't have anyone to talk to or anyone who can identify with where you have been.
Right.
And before long, the sense of loss, the sense of failure begins to take away your sense of worth and identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we come back to remind you that you were someone before all these things happened to you.
Yeah.
And so that becomes the main thing that where people begin to lose the game.
Yeah.
Do you think this affects the adults more?
Actually, if we could nip it in the bud from the point of childhood, if, for example, even as a child, you grew up in an environment where you were affirmed, you are better you're in a likely better position to bounce back should you face the challenges of life.
So when you joined us, and thank you so much for joining us, karibu sana.
Asante, nashukuru.
We was talking about wish lists.
Yes.
And how we should challenge ourselves as adults to create a wish list for ourselves individually for the year 2022. So because you're the expert.
Yes.
As we were just giving this personal experience, observation. And thank God you're here,
Yes.
Kindly break it down to us. What is a wish list and the importance of a wish list?
Okay. Can we go way back?
Yes,
if you don't
Of course.
mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, because before we come to even drawing the wish list, the thing that happened, remember when you were a child, you had a sense of imagination. You could dream.
Yeah.
You were creative. But something happened to you along the way that you forgot to dream.
Right.
You have to go back and trace that person.
I see. Yeah.
Because if you keep telling people, go back and dream, my ability to dream was taken away.
A part of me feels like it's because we kind of get into the mundane monotony of life. We know that even if I have big goals and big ambitions, I still have to find a way to feed myself. I have to find a way to take care of my family.
Bills.
Yeah, I have to pay bills. I have to, cater for all of these needs.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it gets to a point where that takes precedence over everything else that I may want to achieve.
Not necessarily. Sometimes, by the way, if you are still as daring as you were as a child, do you know you'd still bounce back and still be creative?
Right.
It's because you learned to lower your expectations. With every failure, something told you, Arnold, you can't do it. Really.
Right.
Lower your expectations. Arnold, stop dreaming too much.
Right.
You can't do it. And over time, you began to let go of those dreams. Without knowing, you have actually lost the Arnold that God created when you were brought onto planet Earth.
I see.
Oh,
that
wow.
young, imaginative,
Yes.
daring version.
Yes.
So how do I get there? How do I get to that place of reliving and remembering who I was and the wishes and the dreams and the goals? And I'm 45.
Right.
I'm 45 years old with 10 children.
Right.
It doesn't matter,
In
Karibu.
debt.
Let me tell you what. I come here back to tell the audiences as a living example that actually, even for me, I had taken that journey. You know, when you talk about waking up to pay bills, when you wake up and you say, you know what, we get caught up in the rut, in the mundane. You wake up and life took you on a certain route and you probably didn't understand how you got here. Or you learned to just make do. That's what happened to me.
I see.
Will you tell us how you got out of it?
That's why I'm here.
When we come back, I'm so ready.
Oh, goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are ready for the show. We have to make sure that as we approach the end of the year, that we make sure that we not only end it with a bang, but that we're giving you the tools and tricks that you need to make sure that you start your new year off right. And that is the reason why we have Judy MZUNGU in the building, who is a life coach, who's here to talk to us about how to actualize your 2022 resolution. So if you're listening and you're thinking to yourself, there's someone out there who I know would benefit from this conversation, make sure you get them to tune in. They can do it via, obviously, the radio through the traditional way. And then, of course, you can go to www.spicefm.co.ke and you can join in either via the audio or the visual stream. Do not touch that dial, ladies and gentlemen. We shall be right back. We are the adults in the room. Spice FM with the adults in the room. We are trying to be ahead of the pack by giving you the information that you need right now. And we're doing that with a very special guest in the building who goes by Judy MZUNGU. She is a life coach and she's here to talk to us about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions. So you did speak about this idea of us having lost ourselves from when we were children.
Yes.
So in the spirit of where things began, before we actually get into how to actualize your 2022 resolutions, I would love to hear what your journey has been like, particularly getting into life coaching. What inspired you to want to step into that field of practice, and how has that journey looked like for you?
Okay. I'll start by probably just talking a little bit about myself. And I remember myself as a child being a very confident young girl, very outgoing. I was bold, I was courageous. And I remember I was very good at writing, very good as a speaker. But then as I grew up, because my older sisters were introverts, the conversation in the house was, why can't you be like your sisters?
Wow.
Right.
Are you an only girl family?
No.
Okay.
I was the fourth girl.
Right.
Yeah, you understand. So there was every reason why I should be like the rest of them. And it made sense for me at that time, trying to fit into the mold. And so for the most part of my growing up, I learned to hold back who Judy really was.
Right.
And so that became my life. That became my new identity. I must say that that's how I grew up. And even now, when I grew up then, I began to find challenges getting into life. I missed university by just 1 point. At that time, there was no parallel university in this country, if you remember. So that meant that the opportunity was closed. For me to go to campus. And that meant that I had to start my career journey at the very lowest as a cleaner cum receptionist.
Right. I see. So you've really come from far.
Yeah.
You've come from far.
Yes. So then rising up, I rose up through the ranks, rose up in admin work as a secretary, ended up as a personal assistant. And I would have thought that then that would have been my career journey to say that then I should be, end up in admin work. But then the company that I was working for wound up.
Wow.
So that meant that in that season, I didn't know what to do. And for a moment, I remember sleeping in the house. I must have been depressed and I didn't know, or maybe just having a low moment. And a friend of mine came and said, Judy, you can't be sleeping in the house. I went to Sharia House and registered a company.
Right, okay.
And so when I started going out to sell my business, that's when I discovered a salesperson within me.
Right, okay. It was. I had just been suppressed up until this point.
Yes. So when I discovered this salesperson, I actually did well selling, but then now I didn't have enough capital to sustain me within the business, which meant that I had to go back to the job market again. When I went back to the job market, naturally I had to go back to admin because this is what I knew. But at some point, I knew that something wasn't working. I wasn't finding fulfillment, so I took a salary cut and now changed my career into sales.
Right. Okay.
So I went into media sales. Yes.
Wow.
So as I went into media sales,
So
when I went into media sales, what happened in media sales is when you're selling media space, you have to be very creative because you're selling to different kinds of clients and you have to write proposals that are tailor-made to suit different clients. So then my creativity began to flow.
I see. Yeah.
That's how now I became, by the time I was leaving the media industry, I was working as a sales and marketing manager.
Right. Wow. Hey, you've really worked hard.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what was the progression growth in terms of years, months, days?
I honestly can't tabulate that, but it was quite a stretch. I mean, you've done admin work, you've taken it was quite a stretch.
A decade?
Maybe more.
Okay.
Maybe more.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's important for us, for the listener to know.
It's all right. They'll get there. Don't worry. They'll be very encouraged by the time I'm done with my story.
I
love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So here I was. So then by the time I'm quitting I didn't quit the media industry, so to speak. I just couldn't find a job.
Okay.
So I went through a period where I wasn't working for a time. And I would have thought it's a dead end. And that's to encourage someone who's listening to this conversation, because so many people lost their jobs in this season. It's not the end of the road. It's a bend on the road.
It's not the end of the road. It's the bend in the road. I like that. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I might have to start quoting that. I
like Yes. So I actually stayed home for a period, a while. And that was a tough time for me.
Right.
But in that time, I introspected a lot. And that's how I was able to dig deep into who I was. And at that time, by the way, when I first was going into corporate, I was in my mind, I was going into corporate training.
Right, okay.
Then COVID hit, which meant that door was closed.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yes. So when that door was closed, in that season of that lockdown, that's when the idea of the realignment program, which I now run, came up.
Right.
And it was interesting. At that point when I was thinking about it, the thought that came into my mind is the working of the body, soul, and spirit and how we can work it together.
Right. I see.
But I didn't realize that this was my life journey that I was speaking about.
Right.
And you know what? What then became a passion for me was, Judy, you found yourself at 45 because that was the age that I was at. Wow. I had been out of work for the sake of the people who don't know or who are feeling lost. I had been out of work for 4 years of my life.
Right. Yeah. And that's a very long time.
That's a very long time.
Yeah. It's almost like you start to question your skill set. Am I still going to be marketable? Am I still going to be employable? You know, it comes with a lot of anxiety and a lot of doubt.
And you know what? This is Black Africa. At 40, everyone writes you off. You write yourself off.
Yeah.
When you talk of introspection,
yes,
give us an example of what it took for you, some of the things that you needed to experience that defined introspection for you to get to the journey that you are at. Because somebody might be there, they're thinking, what is introspection? What is it defined by? How does it look like? How does it feel like?
No, I get, let me tell you, and that's why sometimes coaching is important because it's tough. You have to have depth within you. Not many people have that ability. And sometimes now what we come as coaches to do is to help you to join the dots.
Right. So you help them almost have those realizations themselves.
Yes, because, by the way, I don't have the answers for you. They are within you.
Right.
I just help you to bring it out. And then because I have an eye, I have taken the journey before anyways, I'd be able to help you to join the dots and tell you this is what your journey looks like. And that brings us to the crucial question of purpose, because that's what many people struggle with. When you talk about purpose, if you've had many people talk about it, they say, what is your one thing? Arnold, what's your one thing? What is your one thing? Many people don't know. Do you know your one thing?
I guess it depends on how you define one
thing. You get. So it's a very complicated question, and everyone is wondering, what's my one thing? What's my one thing? It would be unfair for me today, having found the realignment program in my 40s, to come and tell you my one thing is the realignment program. And then I challenge you as Arnold to ask you, what is your one thing? Then you start feeling less without me telling you the totality of my journey.
Right.
Because this is what leads you to your one thing. So as coaches, we only come to help you unless we tell people the truth.
Wow.
So it is not, purpose is actually not one thing. Purpose is the sum total of your natural gifts and abilities. I found my speaking.
Right.
I like that.
And I can tell, clearly it's a very natural inbuilt thing for you.
And do you know, I just found it one day. I was just given an opportunity in church to speak. I'm telling you how God works.
Right.
I was just given one opportunity to speak, and everyone was like, Judy, where have you been all this time?
You've been sitting here and you have this talent.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get.
I get.
So then in that season, in that moment of introspection, I sat and thought. By the way, I went off social media for a while. And someone who knew me told me, Judy, you need to be putting quotes, because he was thinking, just go and do what everyone does on social media. They just go and pick people's quotes and put. But I was able to dig deep into my experiences, and I came out and I started writing articles about the dark season because I had been there. I wasn't writing anyone else's story. I was writing my story, and I could be able to appeal to people and give people hope, inspiration and encouragement for life. And that became my life purpose.
I like it. So look, I'm going to pause you there for 1 second just so we can get back onto another song. We do have to take another quick break, but as soon as we get back, we're going to get more into this concept of introspection. And of course, as the show goes on, we're going to, we're really going to sink our teeth into this idea of how to actualize your 2022 resolutions. If you are just joining us, we have a very special guest in the building who goes by the name of who goes by the name I'm just too excited for this conversation. Right. That's all it is.
It's amazing.
But we have Judy MZUNGU in the building, who is a life coach, who is here to talk to us about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions. Do not touch that dial, ladies and gentlemen. We shall be right back. We are the adults in the room. Now it's time to find a way to put pedal to the metal and actualize some of these dreams. And that is the conversation that we are having today right here with the adults in the room. We have a guest in the building who is a life coach. She goes by the name of Judy MZUNGU, and she's here to talk to us about how to actualize your 2022 resolution. So you were talking a little bit about introspection, and I really connect with what you're saying, because for me, I went through a very, very similar journey in that I used to be married. We got divorced, and I asked myself a lot of big life questions around who am I now as an individual? Who is Arnold, the single individual? What are my dreams? What are my goals? Because so much of my life prior was wrapped up in not just being a husband, but in pursuing life with this person. So a lot of my goals also revolved around this person. So this idea of having life experiences and taking time to actually introspect and ask yourself some big life questions is a very, very vital thing. And we were saying on the break that, I was saying a lot of people, I feel, don't take time to actually ask themselves some very important questions about life. Why do you think that is? I mean, I know I touched on it before by saying maybe it's a case of we're just too preoccupied with the here and now that we don't have that time. But I'd love to get your perspective on that.
I think sometimes you can be so used to dysfunction.
Right.
Wow.
That you don't realize that actually you're operating in a dysfunction.
Ah, right. Okay.
So it takes those moments, those life moments, to kind of like just awaken you and make you realize something is wrong or something went wrong somewhere. And I think that's the reason why even when those things do happen, those tough life experiences, which sometimes do they are a hit. So for some people, they're not quite able to bounce back and dream again. And that's what we are here to talk about.
Right.
So that we all realize that we all go through difficult life experiences. But even with the difficult life experiences that we have gone through, are we able to somehow still find who we are?
Right.
Because unless you find out who you are as an individual, you cannot have a vision.
Right,
Wow.
right. So I would like to clarify that, because I know a lot of people will say, but I know who I am. My name is Arnold and I live at such and such place and this is my family.
Yes.
But how do you define knowing who you are?
Knowing who you are. Knowing who you are begins by asking ourselves the pertinent question of who was Arnold before the world began to redefine you.
Right. Yes. Those sort of key qualities, those key characteristics.
Yes. Who are you before we began to tell you, don't be like this, don't do this, that is not right. All those things.
Yeah.
That's key. And then now we begin to find out what skills and abilities have you learned along the way? What unique experiences have you gathered along the way that add up to that canvas, that unique canvas.
Right.
Remember that God works with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
We cannot run away from life. It has what it has, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But then we can decide, looking at the sum total of our experiences, what can we make out of it to then understand that this is then what I have in my hands. Because unless you have a clear understanding of what you have in your hands in terms of your gifts and abilities, your unique experiences, then you definitely cannot even begin to draw a goal. And that's why it's important for us to have this conversation before we even think of beginning to set goals.
Yeah.
So then, okay, great. Wow. That's very clear. So then, what's the correlation then between authenticity and resolution?
You cannot write resolutions, or you cannot draw resolutions unless you're coming from a place of authenticity. And the place of authenticity can only be found when you do some introspection. When you come to terms with who you are, and you are comfortable coming out and giving us exactly who you are.
So then, okay.
I was just going to ask. I know that we have. I was saying I've been doing this thing since beginning of the month, where I've been doing this countdown. First, it was a countdown until Christmas.
Yes,
and then now we are just over 24 hours until we get into the new year. So I guess to really kind of now steer the conversation in a way where we can actually start thinking about New Year's resolutions and some of the goals that we have for the year. First and foremost, do you believe in New Year's resolutions, and do you think they're possible? Or is this sort of like a fallacy that we tell ourselves because we literally have something that commemorates the end of one season and the beginning of another?
I guess that's the reason why I'm here, because I know that many people stopped believing, not because that there's anything wrong with New Year resolutions, not because there's anything with dreaming, but because we lost our ability to dream, Alan. I'm here to inspire people we can dream again.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to talk about those life experiences and be able to look back. And then only when you're able to look back, overcome those things that happened somewhere along the way, then remember who you were as a child. Carry your unique experiences, knowing that now the treasure that you have within you, you now have clarity to draw goals. Many people miss out on all those elements.
It's a journey.
And I think what I like about what you're saying is, because I think a lot of the time when we think about New Year's resolutions, we think, I want to lose 10 kilos, or I want to wake up early and be more productive.
Resolutions are vanity.
they usually revolve around things that, for the most part, if all of these other areas of our lives we've taken time to think about, we will naturally find alignment by default.
Thank you.
So the idea of if I know who I am and I've taken time to be introspective, areas like my health or areas like my relationships with people, setting boundaries with certain people, my relationships with colleagues and co-workers seem to naturally align.
Thank you.
Because it's coming from a place of I've done some of the work that's necessary.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think I
You're
like the
at
fact that the
peace
conversation.
with yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you're definitely at peace. So I like the fact that the conversation is not even about, I want to lose 10 kilos, but it's like, before I even think about losing 10 kilos, who am I as a person?
Do the inside job. Take some time so that it's coming from the inside out. The problem with a lot of the times when we do resolutions, they are so external. Like she's saying, it's a lot of vanity because it's based on probably what goals are you setting? You're setting 10, you want to lose 10 kgs. You want to buy a car. I also want to buy a car. You want to buy a house. You also want to buy a house. Then I start competing with you. We are on two different lanes because I don't simply take time to understand myself. And because of that, there's no joy. There's no fulfillment in what I'm doing.
And I think in many ways, maybe this is the reason why for so many people, we have these resolutions and then 2 weeks in, they crumble.
Thank you. Because they're not coming from deep down. So the reason they're not coming from deep down is because we haven't dealt with our own life issues. We haven't dealt with our own life issues. We don't know ourselves. We haven't taken stock of our gifts and abilities. We haven't taken stock of our unique life experiences. And all those things, they're not anything to run away from, including that girlfriend who left you, it's okay.
Right.
That boyfriend who left you, it's okay. That job you lost, it's okay. Let's take stock of what you have now.
Right.
With what you have now, once you clearly are able to understand what you have in your hands, you can now have vision.
I see.
Once you have vision, you can write goals.
I like it. No wonder this is a natural talent for you. I'm even feeling inspired just listening.
Do you have vision? Do you have vision?
I hope so. I mean, now I'm questioning it. Now I'm questioning it.
Very good pickup lines. 2022. That best be one of your visions. I'm Mumbi
for the new year. my goodness. And you know what? This is the reason we're having this conversation. So I might just come into the new year with some more fire pickup lines. You never know. You never know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to take another quick break, but I hope you are enjoying the show. I hope you are somewhere comfortable. I hope you've got your coffee or your chai, wherever it is that you're listening to us from. We're here all about dropping knowledge today on how to actualize your 2022 resolutions with Judy MZUNGU, who is a life coach. Do not touch that dial. We're going to be back in just a second. We are the adults in the room. Conversation about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions. We have a very special guest in the building who goes by the name of Judy MZUNGU, who is a life coach. And, she's going to give us some insight into what it takes to actually step into the new year, not just into the new year, but in life in general. And really grab life by the horns and ensure that you can do whatever's necessary to become the best version of yourself. So I would love to continue the conversation by asking you about how, from your professional experience in this space, how the pandemic has influenced people's ability to either dream or plan goals or discover who they are. Because I can imagine it's most likely in difficult situations where somebody might come to you as a client and say, I need help.
Yes.
I could be wrong, but I wouldn't imagine a situation where if every area of your life is aligned and you found your purpose and you're living your best life, that you would necessarily need to get a life coach. And I could be wrong. I've never had a life coach before. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. Usually by the time people are coming to us, sometimes they actually just feel stagnated.
Right. Okay.
They could be, by the way, having very good jobs, but they just feel, I'm working, I'm not so sure this is within my purpose.
Yeah.
So sometimes it actually is a journey of affirmation. And how the affirmation happens for us is just helping you to track your life journey. I help you join the dots. And then once you're at peace and you know that this does align with who you are called to be, it means that even as you go back to your job, you do have an understanding that, yes, it's okay. I am exactly where I need to be. And then it helps you to set a trajectory for what then you should do next.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, completely. So, we've been going through COVID times.
Yes.
And definitely there's nowhere this pandemic is going. However, people have been experiencing tough times, even as recent as today.
Yes.
But what I would want us to have an understanding, and I would really want you to empower us, is mostly on resilience. Because we cannot predict whether tough times will be tougher or whether they'll be less, but we can be guaranteed that tough times are with us.
Yes.
So how do we choose and how can we be resilient with life amidst everything that's going on?
I think, where we tend to miss it is if you go through a tough time, many people want to run away. You went through poverty, and then so you're thinking, I don't want to be poor again. So you're running away from it, and you begin to change your sense of identity on the basis of money. You miss it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Say that again. For the person at the back, or the listener at the back. Because I feel like this story of money is like what people base their sole purpose on life in.
Yeah, because you see, you have to, that's why I'm saying, even as you think about purpose, as you think about as your journey, as you think about life goals and, the New Year resolutions moving forward, it's important for us to be able to look at our experiences and draw from them. Even the difficult experiences have positives in them. If you're able to look back and draw from the gems in those experiences, then you have capacity to realize, I went through that. I made it. It means that whatever life will throw at me ahead, I have capacity to bounce back again.
Wow. Right. Yeah.
So then what defines success? I want us to talk about success.
About success.
Yeah. What is defined by success? Because then, okay, I've gone through life. This is where we are. I'm building resilience by looking at past experiences, what I've achieved, what I've not achieved. But then now, it's now May, June. I'm not looking like there's any growth that's going on in my life. Because probably society has painted a picture of what success is defined by. How do we define success?
Success is defined by your core values.
Okay.
Because your core values, his core values, my core values are very different. You might find that for you, you'll be inspired maybe by achievement, you'll be inspired by success, whatever. I mean, achievement, excellence and all.
Yeah.
He'll probably will be inspired more by creativity. He probably will be inspired by a sense of community, a sense of family. I'll be inspired by something else, maybe strength, courage and all.
Yeah.
So my definition of success has to be based on my core values, not based on what I have seen on a bumper sticker somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
And or social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the key difference. Now, if you don't know your core values, you're in trouble. That's why you need a life coach.
Right. Right. And that's why we have you here. Yes. Exactly.
Can I have a resolution without core values? Because, I know there's someone listening and asking, okay, so now resolutions, all these
Okay.
things, and for me to have a
Fine.
resolution.
Even as we talk about resolutions, because I think it's important not to leave people hanging.
Yeah.
As we talk about resolutions, it's important to take stock.
Yes.
Take stock of your strengths.
Yeah.
Take stock of your gifts. Take stock of your skills. Take stock of your abilities. Take stock of even the tough experiences that you have been through.
Yeah.
Then, on that basis of you understanding what is in your hands, ask yourself, where do I want to go? Based on what you have in your hands, not based on what society is saying, based on
Right.
what you have in your hands.
Yeah.
Once you understand what you have in your hands and you can begin to have a vision of where you need to go, that vision now begins to show you how to draw steps to take you there.
Right.
The vision may not be for 1 year, but the steps now to take you there is what now you need to begin to program, maybe for the next 5 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So, sorry to cut you off. I wanted to ask a quick question before we
Yes.
go on this quick break.
Yes.
And maybe this is something that we can continue as we transition into the top of the hour.
Yes.
But I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and the essence of the conversation was she knows what goals she has for life. She knows what she wants to achieve, but something that she struggles with is willpower, is finding the determination, that thing that gets you up in the morning, the push to actually say, you know what, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go do what I said I was going to do. So I guess from your professional experience, how much of a role does willpower play in one's ability to actually achieve their goals?
Thank you. You've made me happy.
All right. That's good.
Because that's key. Let me tell you, even as we do coaching, for my coaching is based on 3 elements: your
Okay.
body, your soul, and your spirit. Now, what happens when you talk about the life experiences? It's what happened to you at the physical level, the abuse, the rejection, what they told you. You registered it through what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you feel, what you smell. The
Yes.
5 senses.
Yes.
That experience doesn't stop there. It goes into your soul.
Okay. It goes into your soul.
Yes. Your soul is divided into your intellect, your emotion, and your will.
Okay.
So your intellect, your mindset begins to get affected, which means then your ability to even think well of yourself. Hence, I'm talking about look for your sense of identity, because it's taken
Right.
out.
Yes, that makes a little sense.
Thirdly, your emotions are out of balance. And because your emotions are out of balance, creativity is taken out.
Right. Yeah, and you can start to see the
Yes,
cause and
now you
effect.
see, yes.
Yeah.
Thirdly, your will is taken out, meaning your zeal and your enthusiasm for life goes.
Right.
Now, that means that's your willpower I'm talking about.
Right.
So for us to begin to join the dots, it means then we have to deal with you at first the emotional level.
Yeah.
And then connect with your mindset. Then once you're able to see that, you begin to get your willpower back. But then there's a third element, and that's why I talk about doing it from the basis of the Bible,
Yes.
the spirit.
Okay, hold that thought, because we do have to transition into the top of the hour. We're
Okay.
going to get into that point in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that we are having a good time, and I hope you are also enjoying the conversation that we're having, because it's all about inspiring change in this new year. It's been a tough period that we have all gone through, but there is always an opportunity to start afresh in the new year. And there is in fact, I'm going to do the math. I'm going to figure out exactly how many hours we have left, right down to the minute, and I'm going to quote you on that. Do not touch that dial, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. We are the adults in the room. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's exactly 9 p.m. on the 30th of December. It is a Thursday, which means it is Shout Out Thursday. I want you to do me a favor. Jump on our social media handles at SpiceFMKE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Give a shout out to the one person that you hope well in the new year. Who's that one person that you know maybe has been struggling over the last 18 months and you really want to wish them a happy new year? You want to encourage them. You want to show them some level of support. This is your opportunity to do that. Jump on our social media handles. Join in on the conversation, because as the show goes on, we're going to be sampling your views, and just so that we can ensure that our lovely guest has an opportunity to give us as much knowledge as possible, we're going to be opening up our phone lines at 9:30 today. So hold your calls until then. That'll be your opportunity to give us a call and share your insights, ask any questions that you have for our guest. If you're wondering who our guest is, maybe you've just joined, we're having a conversation about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions, and we have Judy MZUNGU, who is a life coach, who's here to educate us on that. So I would love to go back to the conversation that we were having. You said there was a third one,
yes,
which is on the spirit.
The spirit.
Yes, so please indulge us. Help us understand how the spirit now plays into this dynamic.
So the spirit is actually the most important part of the three elements.
Right.
Because I'm a Christian, we will talk about, by the way, regardless of your religious inclination.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all are made of body, soul, and spirit.
Okay.
True.
Yes, we're all made of body, soul, and spirit. That's very true.
But from a Christian perspective, then what we say is that what we know is that God speaks to us through the Holy Spirit. He speaks to our spirit residing within us.
Right, right.
So the spirit residing within us receives a thought, a hunch, a feeling, or a dream. That lady who is telling you she knows where she needs to go,
Yes.
got a hunch, a thought, a feeling, or a dream.
Okay.
That's settled.
Yes.
So when she got the thought, the hunch, the feeling, or the dream at the spirit level, what then happens, because the soul and the spirit are working very closely together. Remember that the soul is divided into three: your intellect, your emotion, and your will.
Yes.
So three things can happen to you. If your mindset is good, it means then that you can be able to correctly interpret the thought and translate it into a dream.
I see.
Are you seeing where
the connection is?
Yes. And that's where many people seem to miss it.
I see. Yeah. So that's really where the disconnect
That's
lies.
where the disconnect lies. Because if your mindset is not good, based on your life experiences, what happens? Your ability to dream is taken away.
Yes.
That's why when some people talk about the New Year resolutions, they honestly do not have. And by the way, don't blame them. Life experiences took away from them the ability to dream.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. That's very true.
So then, okay, now we want to create New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
What are the few questions that I should ask myself? What are the five? Give me the top 5 questions I need to ask myself as an individual. And, layman questions that I need to ask myself as a person, regardless of where I am with society, where I am with life financially, where I'm with life relationship-wise. Just I, as Karigo, I want to go into 2022 and I want to know how to make my New Year's resolutions.
I think based on what I have just explained, start by first asking yourself, do you understand, how in tune are you with the spirit? How in tune is your spirit? Are you able to have the thought, the hunch, the feeling, or the dream?
Right, right.
Because for some people, honestly speaking, because of their life experiences, they even do not have any connection with any spirit being, any god, anyone.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
because they completely lost touch. Karigo life can hit you and you are like, I don't know, I don't believe,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. So that needs to be sorted out.
Wow.
So just to interject with that. So if in the event that you may not follow any particular religious doctrine, maybe you are a non-believer, maybe you're a Buddhist, maybe you're...
Even Buddhists, that's why they
Or
practice
an
yoga.
atheist.
That's why yoga is there.
An atheist.
And they I don't know how they survive. They'll sort themselves out.
Right.
They'll sort themselves out.
Yes.
But the yoga is from the East. It's because they understand what I'm talking about. It's just that now I speak about it from the perspective perspective of the Bible because I'm a Christian,
Right.
and I've been called to empower the believer.
I see. So even in the event that you may not necessarily be a Christian,
Yes.
the idea, like, this process is still very much
It is the same.
aligned.
It is the same.
Right.
The thing is, now for a Christian, probably you'd have the Holy Spirit.
Right, and that would be your spiritual reference point.
No,
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit now would be the one that would speak to your spirit.
Right.
The Muslims have their own way of doing it. The Buddhists have the yoga as an example. That's why some people are practicing yoga without understanding what they are practicing. Actually, the thing
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
True.
it is. Yoga is an attempt to actualize what I'm trying to tell you tonight.
I see. And you can see the connection, because at least the way I'm thinking about it is, if I am practicing yoga, the process of sort of being silent and
When they are talking about meditation,
Yes.
they're trying to bring the soul and the spirit together.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So you, who is probably a believer with no understanding,
So, wow.
It makes sense.
It does. I personally get it. I
Yes.
understand it.
With no understanding, that's why people are living their lives on autopilot.
Yeah.
Yet this thing is there. We are not talking about it enough.
Yeah.
That's the truth. We are here, Bible reading. We believe all these things. Kenya, by the way, has 80% Christians.
Yeah.
And are these things in the Word of God? Meditation is in the Word of God.
Definitely.
Jesus Christ took time away
Yes, from
to
the
spend
people.
time alone. When I'm talking about introspection, it's because our society hasn't taught us enough. If you go to a place like Karura Forest today, you know Karura Forest?
Yes.
If you go to a place like Karura Forest, guess who will find? Whites.
Yeah.
They're the
Oh,
ones who
right.
understand the meaning of nature.
Right,
We don't.
right.
It only costs 100 bob.
Yeah.
100 Kenya shillings to go into Karura Forest, beautiful place where you can go, spend time, think.
Yeah.
But what is our idea of fun? In a bar, noisy. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying, but I have no problem with people drinking, but to also take time
Yeah.
to listen to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Sorry, we're all just trying to get in with our questions.
so that's
The state of your spirit.
The spirit.
Then you have to think about the state of your mind. What is the state of your mind? What do you think about yourself first? Because unless you sort that out, you cannot set a goal.
Yeah.
What do you think about your relationship with God? Unless you sort that out, you probably will not be able to set a goal. And this is why. Because we keep on receiving signals. You understand?
Yeah.
Every day, the trajectory of your life, strategies come, divine strategies and ideas come as a result of you keeping on hearing the signal.
Yeah.
Yes. So the state of your relationship with God. Thirdly, what is your state of your relationship with other people?
Right.
That tells you the importance of the emotion. If you're carrying a lot of emotional wounds that then become a hindrance for you to be able to connect with other people, it means then you are actually closing your door for you to be able to actually step into vision, step into the place where you can actualize your goals. Why? The doors for destiny are held by people. That's why it's important for us to heal emotional wounds.
Wow.
And I can probably only imagine that's probably a big part of the process that you go through with clients in helping them start from the very beginning and say what are the origins of maybe some of the things that are holding you back in life.
Actually, it's the emotions that that first take a hit. So once the emotions that have taken a hit, your state of intellect goes. So your capacity to create, your capacity to innovate goes. Then thirdly, your zeal and willpower go. So it's important for you to ask yourself, what is the state of my zeal? What is the state of my enthusiasm for life? What's the state of my willpower? What you are asking about your friend. If you're able to have these three elements together, and then now finally you are able to think about your physical environment, meaning, are you in an environment where, one, you're encouraged, people are speaking words of encouragement, inspiration to you, where now you're not receiving a lot of negativity? Are you in the right environment where you can actually actualize all these goals? Then you have what it takes to fulfill purpose.
I see.
So by the time you are thinking of doing, New Year's resolutions or resolutions generally in life, these are the questions you need to
These are
ask
questions
yourself.
that you need to ask yourself. Then once you have those in place, then you can go and start asking yourself, okay, where do I need to be in terms of relationships? Where do I need to be in terms of my spirituality? Where do I need to be in terms of my finances? Where do I need to be in terms of my recreation? Because now we know recreation is important. Where do I need to be as far as these elements are concerned, so that they can take me where I need to go? These then become vehicles. But we get it twisted because we are talking about the vehicles before we know the destination.
Right. So in the spirit of New Year's resolution, I've often noticed that when people think about goals that they want to achieve or things that they want to do in life, they tend to look at it from a very macro level. They tend to say, I want to be rich, or I want to have a beach body, or I want to have a better relationship with my children. Whatever the case is, they tend to look at it on a very big scale. So I guess from your perspective, what advice would you offer for actually now breaking that down into tangible day-to-day things? Because something that I tend to see a lot is we start the new year, we maybe for the first month, minus coming back to work and kind of getting back into the flow of life, we go through this process and we kind of lose sight of the original things that we said. Maybe it's December 30th and you've written a list of things that you want to be able to achieve at some point, but then life continues, and that balance between I have these big grand ideas, but how do I now filter them down into actionable steps? Because I think we can think about it very on a macro level, but how do we now filter it down to like either daily or monthly or weekly steps?
Okay. I think the first thing that we need to find out is take stock of where we are. Once we understand where we need to go next, then now decide. Let's say, for example, your personal development, which is important for your intellect. Now, as you set goals, you have to think about the three elements.
The ones we've just discussed.
The ones we talked about.
Yes.
So you have to think about how will you grow yourself intellectually? How will you grow yourself in terms of your body, your environment? How will you grow yourself in terms of health and wellness? How will you grow your spirituality? Putting all that together. Then now, even as you set the goals, you have to make sure that you have moments of review, maybe quarterly.
Okay.
Then for each goal, for each area of your life, get an accountability partner.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it a must?
It's important.
It's highly recommended. Huh?
Yes, it's important. And think about yourself as the CEO of your life. Now, this team comes together to help you then fulfill your goal. By the way, this team is not going to be made based on your emotions. It has to be made based on what value are these people adding to your life. I keep saying the best example that the late Bob Collymore left us with, see the kind of people he had around him. He was very intentional. So for the areas of your life, when you think about career and finances, who do you think in your life, who do you see who inspires you? Wow. That you can actually reach and probably talk to, not maybe on a weekly basis, but talk to on a regular basis, maybe quarterly. So that they can work with you. Who do you know who can help you spiritually? Who do you know who can help you maybe as far as your recreation is concerned? Who do you know who can help you as far as your emotional whatever is concerned? As far as your personal development is concerned, because that's important. Who do you know who loves reading even as much as you don't love reading? And even as you think about reading, I know reading is a challenge for some people. Right now, there's almost no excuse. There are audiobooks.
Very true. And I'm a big fan of audiobooks.
Yes, there are audiobooks, there are podcasts, there's all this. So there's all sorts of sources of information, but you have to look for someone who thinks like you, who can challenge you, so that even then you can be able to overcome the, how sometimes the challenges of life come and sometimes you tend to fall off. You need someone who can encourage you, who can tell you to come back up. Now, the challenge we find most of the time is because you're trying to look for one person to become everything. Yes. But sometimes someone is strong, maybe strong for you financially, but they don't have capacity to encourage you because they don't have the spiritual capacity.
I see. Yeah. So they service one particular part of your life.
So just understand this is this person's strength and allow them to operate in their strength and don't have any other expectation from them.
Yeah.
If you're not very objective as you select your team, you'll get disappointed.
I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, are you hearing this? This is gold information that you are getting right now, right here with the adults in the room on Spice FM. We are going to take another quick break, but I'm hoping that as this show is going on, you're starting to see a little bit more clearly in terms of the steps that you need to take to make 2022 your best year yet. Do not touch that dial. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. We are the adults in the room. The information that we're receiving right here on today's show, it's looking brighter and brighter every day, especially as we prepare to transition into this new year. If you are just joining us, we are the adults in the room. We have Judy MZUNGU in the building, who is a life coach who's here to talk to us about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions. So I do want to ask you a question. For considering the fact that you do this on a regular basis, this is a big part of your life. How does a life coach remain inspired? How do you, who coaches you? Because I can imagine if you are helping so many other people, either at some point you might get burnt out or you might feel a lack of inspiration. So, and maybe this sort of ties into what we've just spoken about having people who hold you accountable. But what keeps you inspired in the role that you do?
I think for me, the greatest moments are when my clients come back months later and they're like, you helped me. This is what I've been able to achieve. This is what I've been able to achieve. It keeps me going.
Right.
That's one. But secondly, remember that the program that I run is divinely inspired. So again, a lot of my inspiration has to be drawn from the place of meditation and prayer.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense because I think if you have that sort of anchor that reminds you of your reason for doing what you're doing, then that makes a lot of sense. That's the kind of thing that will keep you inspired.
That keeps me inspired, and I do have a spiritual authority that I can go back to.
So when we don't, okay, let me give you a scenario. Let's say I have set all of these plans for the new year.
Yes.
And a month in, I'm realizing that not much has changed between December 30th and January 30th. I still have the same mindset. I still haven't taken time to put into place actionable steps to work towards what I want. It's very easy to be filled with a sense of disappointment or thinking like, oh, here we go again.
It's only been 1 month.
I know, but
11 more.
I know, but the thing is, a lot of the time, I think when people think about New Year's resolutions, they think from January 1st, everything has to be aligned. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's very easy to be filled with a sense of disappointment in that case. So how does one bounce back and still be able to stay on track? I know we've spoken about having people in your life that sort of mentor you and guide you. But is there anything else that you could offer in terms of if I feel that sense of disappointment that maybe the year hasn't started the way I wanted it to, how do I then bounce back and realign myself to the purpose?
Goes back to vision.
Okay.
If you have clarity of vision, it is that vision that will keep you going. Because setbacks, challenges are guaranteed. This is life. It is the clarity of vision that will keep you going. And that's where many people miss it.
Right. Yeah.
So then what I would want to know is this. Yes. What are some of the overlooked areas in life? The underrated areas of life, in life, that are connected to our success that we need to begin normalizing? Are we together?
Yes, we are together. I'm thinking, failure. Disappointment.
Okay, wait.
You need a second to...
Ready?
What did you have in mind?
I was like, are we together? Kumbe, you are ready to disappoint me.
Oh, gosh.
Wait.
I just told you the truth.
Oh, wow. The truth is very harsh.
Yes, that is what is underrated, because within that failure is a gem, is a treasure. Within that disappointment is a gem, is a treasure. The only thing is, can you see it?
Wow. And what if I can't see it or I don't want to accept it? Does it mean that I will not make it through my resolutions?
No, you asked me what is the most underrated area.
Wow.
So I'm just showing you that regardless of the shape, the pain, the disappointment, it's all right, sis. It's all right, bro. You can make it.
So success is also defined by failures, disappointments, heartbreak, loss. Or is success only defined by the achievements, the bank account, the number of kids walking down the aisle, top in the workplace? I mean, I feel like this whole aspect of success has it's like it needs to look and feel some type of way. But can success also be defined by losing something?
Success,
by being disappointed.
I'll say success is defined by your core values.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying success is defined by your core values is simple.
Yeah.
If, for example, your core value is integrity, if you fail in integrity because something happened along the way and you knew that you are not trustworthy, you knew that you are not honest, you will take it more worse than someone who, for them, integrity is not a core value.
Okay. Yeah.
If, for example, achievement is a core value for you and you stagnate somewhere in your life, because you haven't realized that achievement is a core value for you, you will take it. The only thing is that you're taking the hit harder than a normal person because you haven't been able to see it.
Yeah.
And that's why even as you think about relationships, if you don't know your core values, what are you doing taking coffee with anyone? You understand? You're busy concentrating on cups of coffee, but there's no connection. You just don't understand why there's no connection. The guy looks good. He's tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
But there's simply no connection because the core values haven't been answered. Right. And that's why you hear people saying, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know.
Right.
It was your core values. You just didn't know them.
Yeah. And I think because of that misalignment, it goes back to what we were saying about having a hunch or a feeling. Something in your spirit tells you.
You're a life coach.
No.
Don't let him. He's the bad boy, sweetheart. Don't let him fool you.
Listen, I will take that compliment happily. Maybe this is now my journey. I wish. No, I think for me, it's a case.
But you grasp the concept. You get it really well.
Yeah. No, I think for me, it's primarily driven by the fact that so much of my experience, I'll say over the last maybe 5 years of my life, I've had to face some very hard truths about life.
Yeah.
I got married quite young, and because I got married quite young, I had to learn some very important life lessons during that period where, your 20s are usually for that period where you're just trying to discover who you are. You're trying to find what your purpose is. You're trying to find what you want to do for a job, So I think during those periods where a lot of people were still, going through the motions of their 20s, I was having some very real adult conversations about life, about marriage, about kids, about purpose, and coming out the other side of that. I was saying to Kariga, we were saying this in the previous conversation, that I had a period of 2 years where I was celibate. And during that celibacy is when I learned a lot about that celibacy is not even about abstinence, but it's about delayed gratification. It's about discipline. It's about all these things. So I think for me, the perspective on life that I have now has been very heavily guided by experience. But I've also had certain people in my life who have spoken, certain insight into it. Something that somebody once said to me is the people in your life, particularly people who are maybe more advanced in certain areas of life, it's almost like if we picture Mount Everest or Mount Kilimanjaro, we'll bring it home. We'll say Mount Kilimanjaro. And if I'm standing at the base of the mountain and maybe you are halfway up, the vantage point that you have from that perspective is very, very different. So maybe you can see things that I can't,
Yeah.
So this person said it to me in the context of, we're talking about like work and being creative and all these things, and he was saying I can see like certain qualities in you that I wasn't able to see yet, but because he had been through life and had certain experiences, he was able to see it from a very particular vantage point and was able to then say, this is what I think could work for you.
Now that's what coaching is.
Right. Okay. Okay.
You get it? And then now you also talked about having a team.
Yes.
So now, even as you look for that person who needs to be in your team, look for people who have gone ahead, who can then add value into specific areas of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So do we all need mentors?
We do, yes.
We really do. Is that
To some
one,
extent,
is
yeah?
that a basic life skill that we are not taught that we really need for us to be able to achieve our visions, our goals? Our
Do you know,
resolutions?
sometimes it's not even about necessarily being taught.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is about who do you sometimes just watch on TV? You understand? Some people inspire you from afar. You probably have never even met them. But especially with YouTube and all these things, you have access to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You actually meet a lot of people that you don't, or you know a lot of people that you haven't really met, and you draw inspiration from their life stories. You draw inspiration from all that. So we shouldn't again limit ourselves, but again, it's important for us to actually, look for someone who can speak into our lives.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And without that, because somebody might argue like, hey, me, so far, someone may argue and say that so far I've worked without it. I don't need it. Is it important for us to have it? I know it is. As Karigo, I know it is. But is this like a basic life skill that we really need to adapt to?
I think it's important. We cannot.
Not a must,
No,
but
the thing
like,
about it is, we cannot say that we have to understand the value of people.
Okay.
That's why we're talking about relationships.
Yeah.
So that because you need people to open doors for you, you need someone who has gone ahead of you for you to go to the next step. Remember that we're talking about goals.
Yeah.
So even as we have this conversation, it's important for us to encourage people, guys, look for quality relationships, because as you look for these quality relationships, they are going to determine just how far you go in life.
I like it.
True.
So now,
That's very true.
So on that note, we are going to take another quick break, ladies and gentlemen. The show is fire here today. We have to end this year with a bang. And on top of that, we're going to continue the good music to keep you entertained while we are on this break. If you are just joining us, we're having a conversation about how to actualize your 2022 resolutions. You've been thinking about, maybe getting your life together. This year has been tough and it's taught you a few things. And now you've said to yourself, it's time to kick things into gear, and you want to know how to do it. Continue to listen, because we're going to continue to give you more tips. And on top of that, I want to let you know that as soon as we come back from this break, our phone lines will officially be open. So if you've been looking to call, I can see all the callers that have been attempting to come through. This is your opportunity to shine bright like a diamond. Do not touch that dial, ladies and gentlemen. We shall be right back. We are the adults in the room. Sample his views. If you want to give us a call, the number to call is 0719 012 600. Hi, Flan. How are you? Oh, sorry. We're having a bit of trouble hearing you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
That's better. That's better. Thank you so much for calling.
How are you guys?
We're well. We're having a very, very informative conversation today, and I hope that you're taking some nuggets of information.
Yes. I'm very happy with the conversation. I'm just here, taking a breath.
Yes.
Judy. Wow.
She's inspiring you, huh?
A lot.
Right.
And
Tell us.
it's actually funny because our lives started the same. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah, she mentioned she started as a cleaner.
Yes.
That's how I started.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes.
She went from a cleaner to a receptionist.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way.
The journey is very similar. There's parallels.
Wow.
Very, very, very similar. And from there, we had a manager. It was a salon
Yes.
around Kiambu Road.
Yes.
And we had a manager, and she taught me how to manage the business and how to balance the books and all that stuff. And in 1 year, I got a labor, and I was good, and I could run the place.
Wow.
Then I went for 2 years. Then I was added another one. We had another branch in what do you call this place? Right. Where is this airstrip in Nairobi? Langata.
Oh,
Wilson
right.
Airport.
Wilson.
Yes.
There was another branch in Langata. So I used to do the mud for 9 staff in Kiambu Road. Then you go to Langata and do another mud for a whole month in that other branch. And that's just how God works. And I'm so inspired. I've enjoyed the show. I've enjoyed the conversation.
We're so glad.
And I'm actually thinking about how I'll be going about my New Year's. Like,
Yes.
I normally don't have resolutions.
Right.
Or I don't write down or just, the way people say this year I'm doing a BCD, I don't do that.
Right.
I just have a few things in my head that
Yes.
I want to do. I don't give myself pressure. I don't give myself timeline. I
Right.
just say I want to do something, a certain thing, and if it happens, fine. If it doesn't, I will continue the next year. Like I don't, the way people talk, like when you're starting a new year, it's like you're getting born again. Yeah, like you're going back to your mother's room and you're getting born again, and now you can.
You're
start
being
like a fresh.
reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not how I see New Year as.
Yes.
That's not how I see every year starting as. I see it as every other month. Like the way you start a new month, that's how I continue with whatever I've been doing. Yeah.
Right.
The positive things that I've been doing and the things that I've been doing and that I know that have been working for me, that's what I continue with. Like I don't pause and say, now I've been doing 70 things, 65 have worked.
Right.
But I have to stop because I think the society wants us to do ABCD, so I have to draw a few things inside here. Like, I just continue with whatever I've been doing, and I don't have a problem with that. New year, I don't give myself pressure. Like last year, this year, we're not yet in this year.
Yes.
When this year was setting,
Yeah.
I intended to make people happy. Yeah?
Right.
Just make people happy, and that comes with you being happy because past years I had mentioned to you guys that I'm on a journey.
Yes.
That I started 4 years ago.
Yes.
So I made it intentional this year. I just want to make people happy, and be it through what I do. I make people say I mentioned that.
Yes.
And I do it the right way. Like I do the basic things right. If it's a hairline, you come, we work on it. Like you don't. I mean,
I totally get what you mean. And
yeah,
I think
so I just do the right things the right way. And if I find, or if the client lives there happy,
yeah.
I'm satisfied. Like if there were no bills, if there were no, if we were going everywhere where we were going, we don't pay and we go for free.
Yes.
I wouldn't charge for what I do.
Right.
I
Right.
just love what I do. I love what I do a lot, and I'm very happy when I see someone being satisfied.
Yeah.
And for those that I can't reach through that, or those I can't make happy through what I do,
Yes.
I find other ways to make you happy. Like if it's online on my page, I just go and put a poll and I ask people, "Are you okay?" Yeah, and if you're not okay, I'll reach out to you and I'll give you a space to talk. Like that's all. Sometimes one needs. Yeah.
And for some people, that's all they need.
Yeah, you just talk to me, whatever it is, just vent, say anything you want, tell me what's wrong. If it's something I can help, fine. If you wanted someone who can listen, I just be there. And like, that's what I've been doing this whole year. And this has been the best year. I've been the happiest.
Wow.
My business have been doing even, like, it's the best year. Like, when people say this year has been hard, I don't relate. Like,
Right.
It's the best year, not financially,
Yeah.
but the people that I reached out to, and the
Yeah.
people that have been happy, the people that have changed their life, or whatever I changed in their life positively,
Yeah.
makes me really happy. And this was the best year, and I want to continue the same next year. But Judy has made me think about resolutions, and maybe I need to write down so that I can be looking at it, and if I achieve something and speak, I'll be even more proud,
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely should.
So yeah, I'm loving the conversation. I've been blessed.
Yes.
And I feel so good, and yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for 2022 now.
I like it. That's the energy that we like to hear. You have to be ready for 2022.
And thank you guys for bringing such an amazing person.
Thank you so much, Flynn. Please take care, and we shall talk soon.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, my dear.
Take care. I think something that I've taken from what Flen has said, he spoke about this year being one of his best years.
Yeah.
And even though I think on a macro level, we've all gone through a very tough period.
Yeah.
But I took two things from what he said. The first one is that this goal for spreading joy and happiness is very personal to him. So for him, from his vantage point and from his perspective, he feels like he's achieved, you know?
Yes. It says that one of his core values is feelings.
Yes.
So
yes.
love is important for him.
Right.
The other core value that he probably has is community, which means that if he reaches family, unity, teamwork could be important for him.
Yes.
That's why I said, unless you know your core value, it's easy for someone else, probably who achievement is a core value, they think he hasn't achieved much. Yet, if he wrote down his personal definition of success has to include touching lives.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's how you know he's operating from a place
Yes,
of like this is really personal to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the only thing that which I like that he has picked out from this, that he probably now needs to understand what else, because he probably has measured on those. He needs to find out what else, so that now he makes his personal definition. But he's on a good journey. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
yeah.
very personal journey.
Yes.
And it's intentional.
Yes.
You have to want it,
Yes.
to desire it.
Yes.
I
And to
like
know
that.
it, he's on a good
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what?
And then he's been able to see his gap.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can look back and
Yes,
see growth.
yes.
Yeah.
And you can be able to see, look,
Yeah.
I know that I don't do this. This is what I need to improve on. But this is where I have gotten. And just congratulations, bro. I'm
Wow.
happy. You have made me happy.
Wow. You know what I love the fact
Yeah.
is that he says that his growth, his success has not been based financially.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
for me is like the best thing ever for any human being, because it's been tough. It's been rough. But if you look back and you see, oh my gosh, I'm more self-aware than I used to be.
Yeah.
I can save more. I'm more silent. I can be able to know when to speak and not when to speak.
Yeah.
That's growth.
That's definitely growth. It is. Yeah. I think the point of retrospection
Yeah.
is a very big part of this
Sana.
process of aligning yourself with your purpose.
Sana.
Because if you look back a year later or even 6 months later and you can see significant growth from who you were at the beginning, I feel like that's an indicator that you might actually be on the right path. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take another quick break, but I want to give a big shout out to everyone who is attempting to call through. I see all the new callers. Thank you so much. Akinyi, I see you. Abigail, I see you. Thank you so much for calling. We're going to be sampling your views as soon as we get back from this short break. The truth is, if you believe, you can accomplish anything. Do not touch that dial, ladies and gentlemen. We are the adults in the room. Believe and you take time to plan out what you want your 2022 to look like, a lot can happen and you'd be surprised. You might get to the end of next year or actually, no, I can't still say next year. I was going to say the end of this year, but we've still got a little over 24 hours until I can say that. But when you get to the end of next year, you'll realize, hey, I've achieved a lot because you've taken time to think about these questions. You've thought about your vision. You've thought about the direction that you want your life to go. And you're now starting to take actionable steps towards it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we still have time left in the show to sample your views. The number to call is 0719 012 600. So I would like to redirect a question to you, Judy, that I thought I think has been a struggle for me for a while.
Yeah.
And that is, what happens when, let's say you have multiple goals or multiple plans for your life. Something that someone once told me is you can do anything, but you can't do everything. How do you, once you've sort of gone through the process and you've asked yourself some very important questions, you've tried to figure out who you are and your identity, what happens if you identify, let's say, one quality? Maybe in your case, you mentioned that it took you standing up at church to realize that you have this gift of being able to speak and communicate. What happens if you identify that, but then you know, oh, I could also be on radio, or I could also be a public speaker. I could do so many different things. How do you then decide which way to go once you sort of found that core calling or that core skill?
You know, God is interesting. The doors don't all open. He will align your steps.
Right.
So, and that's where it comes to the place of us understanding our spirituality.
Right.
Because then you have to hear, so that your steps are guided.
Right.
The doors of opportunity begin to open. You begin to make the right calls. Then it becomes his business to align the people and the resources based on whether, one, you heard from the spirit, two, the state of your emotions,
Yes.
then now you're able to call the people and the resources.
I see.
That becomes, the disconnect happens at the soul level. That's why we need to heal.
Right,
Yes.
right. I like that idea of not all doors will open. And I think
Yes.
once you sort of identify a talent, you know that, or identify a core skill or a core
Yes,
calling,
yes.
you know that it can be put to use in so many different ways.
Yes.
But not every single way is going to be the way that,
Yes,
that
it's
you
not.
should
It's
go.
not. It's not what would. Many people are MCs. I know that's not me. You understand?
Yeah.
Many people are speakers called into different things, but this is the path that I have taken,
Right.
and this is my unique path.
Right, right. I see. That makes a lot of sense. So I guess to follow up that question, what happens if my goals change?
Yeah, I wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if during the year I think, now these things are not working out for me.
What
I
I
need
thought-
something else.
Or even what I thought I wanted.
Or what-
Maybe I've
yeah.
tried it and I
It's not
realized
working.
it's not working the way I thought it would.
It goes back clarity of vision.
Yeah.
I was watching a YouTube message by Tyler Perry.
Yes.
You know, he did the same thing for 7 years.
Yes.
And he failed
Yes.
for 7 years. Do you have a vision strong enough that even when you face failure, even when you face setbacks and disappointments, the power of the vision is so strong that
Yeah.
you will hold on?
Yeah, yeah. And I think now that I really think about it and considering the whole conversation that we've had,
Yes.
I can see how for a lot of people they might think that this is what they want, but maybe the idea, maybe it's more of a, let me not say fantasy, but maybe we've
They like the idea of it,
romanticized it.
yeah.
Yes,
We've romanticized
yeah.
the idea of pursuing a particular career path or becoming a certain person. You spoke a little bit earlier about when you were a child, you were very extroverted and you kind of had to reel that in a little bit. So now that I think about it, it's almost like I'm trying to figure out the right words. The intention that you originally had may not be strong enough. Hey, English today is a struggle, but it may not be. But the vision may not be as strongly aligned to what you actually want to do, and it's actually maybe that's even an opportunity to go back and reevaluate the original ideas that you had for what you wanted out of life.
Yeah, because you'll be derailed. Like I was derailed by life circumstances and all.
Right.
But in my finding back my path, then I was able to locate my purpose.
Right.
Wow.
That makes a lot of sense.
So now, okay. Me, I'm very big on resolutions, by the way. Vision boards, creating new goals, new visions, objectives, constantly living within my purpose as I live through, just enjoying life at peace with content. The question I have for myself is, how do I check in with myself regularly? What ways can I use as checking are a base and foundation for checking in with myself regularly so that I know I am maintaining consistency and discipline?
Again, it just goes back to one, accountability,
Yeah.
constant reviews. You have to keep on reviewing yourself. And then again, don't be so hard on yourself.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes, don't be so hard on yourself. Some months you will do well. Some months you will not do well.
Yeah.
The only thing is, are you still on track?
Yeah.
Some things are out of your control.
Yeah.
But are you still on track? Are you still moving in the right direction?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we do have a few minutes left in the show,
Yes.
and I would like to create an opportunity for you to inform people about the services that you offer and how, if they're interested in learning more, how they can actually get in contact with you. Please feel free to plug everything that you do, because obviously you do a lot and there's a lot of good that you pour into the world. So please let us know how we can get in contact.
Okay, I run a program called the Realignment Program. So the Realignment Program is an 8-week Bible-based journey that takes you through a healing journey. Now you understand I'm big on healing.
Yes.
It takes you through a healing journey that then will help you to find your true identity and then walk in your purpose.
So I guess that those 8 weeks, what does that breakdown sort of look like? And I don't want to give it all,
No, it's okay. That's
all of it
okay.
away, but could
Yes.
you give us a bit of a snippet of that process?
That 8 weeks, first we take you back to the core, how you are actually meant to operate. Then we help you to dig through. to find out what could have happened somewhere along the way. Once we are able to find that, we take you on a journey to find out your purpose, to find out your true identity. Then we help you also find your purpose. Then we do equip you so that the things that took you into that place in the first place, we help you to overcome, so that the next time you can be able to navigate through life better. Because still we live in the same world, but if you are better equipped, you are better able then to manage and navigate.
I see. So I can already tell that this process of healing,
it's intense,
it's gonna require you to ask yourself some very serious questions.
Yes, but we make it easy. I was actually speaking to Karigo, and I was telling her it's not so difficult. It depends on how is it done. If someone is coming from a place of compassion because they themselves took that journey, it makes it a lot easier. As a matter of fact, many people who come through the coaching sessions, because actually our program, because it was started during the COVID season, we do it online, and then we have coaching sessions based on whatever it is that we have learned in the class session. And by the time people are done, they're like, we didn't expect this. I feel freer, I feel liberated, and it wasn't as hard as I imagined.
Right. Okay. So before we wrap up the show, how can one get in contact with you? What would be the best way to get in contact with you if they're interested?
You can call me or WhatsApp on 0714-722-733 or 0784-722-733. You can find me on social media at Safarini with Judy MZUNGU, where we take the journey of life together.
Fantastic. Well, I want to first of all say thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing this insight. This is something that I know people are going to take with intentionality, and they're going to go into the new year, hopefully with a new perspective on life.
I pray so.
Yes,
I pray so.
If anyone listening is similar to anybody who has called and has said, you know what, I've gotten a lot of value from this, definitely look into contacting Judy. I can guarantee you the course is something that you're going to want to do, particularly if the journey starts with healing. So I want to encourage you to do that. And of course, I want to thank you so much for joining in the conversation. To everyone who was whose calls we weren't able to answer, there is always tomorrow. We want to thank you so much and prepare for a night of uninterrupted music right here on SpiceFM with the adults in the room. We thank you and we bid you good night, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, and don't forget, we are the adults in the room. Take care.
Spice.